How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
um, I'm not too bad. I'm not too
Good.
bad. My eyes, I've got my glasses on today because my eyes are very puffy. If only they invented something on Dragon's Den where there was like an iron that you could just iron out your face.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Anyway, so thank you for joining me today. I've sent through some questions. The first of which is, when did you first ever see live improv? Not as our go-to is sort of, whose line is it? So, where do you first see? So, where, when, who was it?
Yeah. So I learned improv when I was living in Brighton, and I learned improv from the Maydays. And so the first my first teachers were people like Katie Shute, Jenny Rowe, Heather Urquhart, and they performed improv, obviously. And so I think the first live improv show I saw was a Mayday show, and I think it was called Confessions. This is like way back in 2007, I think. So so what they did was people in the audience wrote down sort of rather innocuous confessions on a slip of paper, put it in a hat, and then the Maydays picked them out, and then they would, improvise based on the suggestion of that confession. So it was awe inspiring, and I was so thrilled to be learning from them, and then see them live, and see what improv was like live, which is something I don't know, until you see it, you might not really understand what improv is. And of course, there's lots of different forms of improv. So, and I only started learning that, oh, there's different ways of improvising. I only started learning that quite slowly, quite gradually. Um, so when you actually see improvisation live, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I don't know how they do that. And it was done with such joy and such playfulness, and the team were enjoying themselves as much as the audience. It was a really inclusive environment, and loads of just laughter and just sheer like just jaw dropping. I think that's the thing about improv is it's jaw dropping when it's done well. You just think, I don't know how they do that. So yeah, that was my first live improv that I saw.
So, was that in Comedia or was that in the Comedia?
Yeah. They had. I think they possibly still do, but that certainly back then they had a residential
Yeah,
monthly gig at the Comedia in Brighton. Yeah,
yeah, I know it's a lovely venue, really, really
yeah,
nice, and a very nice part of the world to be knocking around in. So,
yeah. I lived in Brighton for about 10 years, and before
oh,
that I was in London. So yeah, it was a wonderful place to live. Yeah.
yeah. So, you mentioned that you train with the Maydays. Is there any teachers that you've kind of gone so from that? Anybody that you'd kind of go, wow, this was really inspirational, and that sort of really stuck with me for, you know,
You mean other teachers aside from the May Days?
yeah,
Yeah. Gosh. I think I think particularly during the pandemic, we were able to go online, and so to get access to world improv teachers was really cool. Yeah, so I took lessons with Jay Suko and Will Hines, Brian Palermo, Michelle Gilliam, um, yeah, and Lakshmi from Bangalore. So there was kind of like tons of like world improv teachers that I really enjoyed learning from. But I think I mean previous to online, I had Jamie Moyer was really inspirational. I went to Copenhagen International Improv Fest just before the pandemic, and I did a week long course with Jamie Moyer, and she was so vivacious, so passionate, and so funny, and she was quite strict, but really with love, So I think that was a really enjoyable week for me. Yeah, and I think I've learned other Rachel Mason and Susan Messing. I did a week's course with them in London way back as well. So yeah, I feel like I've had like quite a rounded learning experience, and of course I'm still learning. We never stop learning.
No.
But I've had quite a rounded learning experience from different ways of improvising. So I'm inspired by lots of different sort of techniques, I suppose, and skill sets from different improv schools.
Yeah, so be like a magpie. Take what's shiny and take it, and then make something
Yeah,
new with it.
I sort of take what makes sense to me, and also that's a kind of like that's a marriage with my background as well, in terms of like I am an actor and a director, so things in improv that speak to me, that I can connect with my own experience as an actor, it really works. Like David Rozalski is a great example of, he's like an actor's improv teacher kind of thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that marries a lot of acting stuff that I know together with improv, you know.
Yeah, no, Meisen's really interesting, and then kind of taking other stuff, because obviously most of the acting schools or methodologies were looking to try and create authenticity, and you just go, well, that's what improvisation is in theory. So kind of no, that they're not that dissimilar, and I think sometimes when you say improv to a group of actors, they kind of go, because it has a particular connotation, but actually you're drawing upon a lot of your training is sort of asking you to do what an improviser does, but in a slightly different way.
Interestingly enough, I mean, because recently I'm doing a lot of directing work at the Royal Court Theatre in Liverpool, so predominantly working with script-based actors. And one of the sort of biggest notes I find myself giving is listen to what listen to what they've just said, and so the note to listen is so like is so necessary for actors, but who are script based, as it is, of course, for improv. I mean, that's like your first rule number one, isn't it? In a way, is to listen. So yeah, I think script based actors often are a little bit, they have preconceptions about improv, or they're a bit scared of improv. Yeah. But the essential is the same: listen and react and connect, and it's the same whether you're using script or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Listen with your eyes and ears.
Yeah.
So as you sort of intimated that you've seen moments of real magic as both participant and audience member, could you just recall one of those where you just kind of go, oh my word, this just sticks with me forever?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen loads of improv, but I always go back to the thing that just makes my jaw drop. And it's the Maydays, and they had, or maybe still have, a show called Happily Never After, and it's a narrative. Excuse me, that's my dog. It's a narrative long form, and it's inspired by Tim Burton, so it's kind of got a slight kind of twist, sort of horror to it. And their hair and makeup and their costume is all very black and white, very monochrome palette. And they start with a suggestion. They create a song immediately from that suggestion, and then I think that from that song they are then pulling out ideas to create the narrative, and they are it's so tight as an ensemble. They're really tight, but as a show, that's the closest I've seen to theatre, to scripted theatre, if you know what I mean, because it's so tight. That it's character driven, it's narrative, there's music as well as acting, and it's in a genre, and it's just like heaven. You can find it on YouTube as well. Happily Never After, the Maydays. I would strongly recommend anyone to watch that. And I still aspire to being that good. Yeah.
There's a pal of mine in the States, and they do an annual Halloween where they pull a load of really cool guys together. They hire a theater, and it's genre based, and it's set in a brothel house in London. at the time of Jack the Ripper, and it's completely narrative based, and they only do it once a year because they're everywhere working as actors. But it just, a 500 seater just sells out like that, and they do pre-sales a year in advance, and it pretty much sells out because it's so like, and it is full sets flying in and all sorts, and it's completely made up. It's just a phenomenal piece of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Name escapes me, but what was it? Some burning something, I can't remember. Anyway, it's about it's set in a brothel house, but it's the corpses that died in a fire in a brothel house. So they're all sort of ghosts, or are they not? Or, you know, it's unreliable narrator throughout, which is fabulous. So yeah, moments of magic that stick with us. There are many and multiple.
Yeah, I think another one that sticks with me is Ostentatious, actually, which again, it's genre narrative, Jane Austen inspired, and you know, they've got everything. I mean, they're in the West End now, aren't they? Ostentatious, and they tour and stuff like that. But full costume, that I find that really inspiring as well. I only saw them once, like when they first started. It was so back in the kind of noughties, I saw them when they were just beginning, and even then it was like, wow, that's tight, that's really good.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, you know, to get an ensemble, so they absolutely are singing off each other, and absolutely kind of have shortcuts with each other. And it, you know, it's much like an ensemble that you might develop in, say, you know, the former Soviet Union, where they had, that's all they did was work together and live together. And a bit like why Knee-High were so fantastic was because they live and breathe theatre, and they kind of understand each other. They understand what they provoke out of each other, and that takes a long time to get. And that's a big investment in terms of people's time and effort, really.
Time and commitment, for sure.
So you moved from Brighton up to Liverpool, was it 2012, 2014?
2014, so I mean, I was brought up on the Wirral, born and brought up there, but then lived in the south for over 20 odd years. So moved back to Liverpool 2014, and don't regret it at all. And it's nice to be back home, and time's gone very quickly now. So it's like, I don't know, that's like 9 years ago.
So you came up, obviously LCI came about, so Liverpool Comedy Improv. So in regards to both when you were down in Brighton and when you were up in Liverpool, what I know this is a really difficult question to ask, and loads of people would struggle to answer it, but what do you think you bring to the improv community in respectively?
I mean, obviously, I suppose I founded Liverpool Comedy Improv in 2015. So LCI is now in its 8th year. So I suppose I suppose I try and reach people who have never heard of improv, or they don't know what that is. But because I offer a weekly drop-in, and that's been consistent over 8 years, and it's always been on a Monday night. So I think slowly it filters out that if you want to try this thing called improv, then, you know, there's this thing called Liverpool Comedy Improv, and you can just drop in, you know, on a Monday, you can just try it out. So I think it's I like to think that I help introduce improv to people who have never come across it before, and they're not even sure where it is. So maybe I'm just like the first sort of flag waver at the, you know, to say over here, you know, and you know, and people hopefully learn some fundamental principles at Liverpool Comedy Improv that are essential, and then, you know, they then go and explore. You know, people have set up teams. I've trained and coached teams, and that just have their own life after coming to LCI for a while. And so I suppose what I like to feel like I bring is a sense of community, a sense of place where people can try this thing called improv, can learn some fundamental stuff and explore other stuff. You know, because we do courses as well as drop-in. We do courses as well in different forms of improv. So, you know, I suppose that's where I see myself, as a sort of a community builder for early stages.
So you're a bit like you're a bit like the pebble that drops in the pond, and then you have all the ripples coming away from it. And if you
That's a
don't
nice
have,
image.
if you don't have people like that, then nothing ever happens. So you know, that's great. So in regards to improv, how does it impact on your life? So the example I've often given is sort of, once upon a time I'd say no to opportunity, and now I just go yes. And so looking at the ways that improv has kind of impacted on your life, maybe you're not conscious of it, maybe you are. Is this stuff that kind of you find that you access every day or use every day in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been life-changing for me, and just anecdotally, a lot of people have said that of themselves, you know. So for me, being sort of much more aware of saying yes to opportunities, and that's the biggest one, is like, yeah, let's just say yes to that. Listening is probably the second way it's impacted upon me. I'm much more conscious of how much I'm speaking, and trying to listen more. I suppose I'm much more I'm much more in touch with play, so being playful and not being so serious about life. There's lots to be serious about, but I like, in life, I like sometimes to go, oh, that's okay, we'll just do that instead, or I'll playfully change my way of thinking or my choices, and maybe see things as experimental instead of like set. um and I think I bounce back from failure more easily as well. Not always, but you know, on reflection, I'll probably go, oh well, okay, you know, move on.
Well,
So
the thing around taking risk, and the thing around failure, is that very often something else emerges from it. So
yeah,
we tried to make this medicine. It didn't solve the problem for this, but actually what it has solved is something else. So
yeah,
you know, the
yeah,
happy accident. So
yeah,
I admire people that take risk and are happy to fail, because you know
yeah,
that
yeah,
you never learn. And as you said at the beginning, we're in a process of constantly learning, and learning about ourselves, learning about craft, learning about what's new. How might I be able to use some of that? So you know, I admire people who are kind of up for one, making things happen. And a lot of the people that I've spoken to in this series are people who've gone, well, it doesn't exist, so I'm going to do it myself. And
yeah,
I've got a lot of time for people like that.
yeah,
Okay, so thinking about the mixer
yeah.
you're bringing to Liverpool Improvisation Festival. So it's going to be drawn from different teams from across the city and perhaps slightly wider. What might the audience expect when they come to the mixer?
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm really excited to be bringing just a mix of people to the mixer team. So yeah, there'll be some people. There'll be members from the Oikers there. There'll be members of Broken Chair Improv in the team, and then there's a couple of regulars who just regularly come to LCI Drop In. So yeah, I think we're going to do like a split. So some short form games, and then a sort of mid formish, probably like a Henry or something like that. Or to be honest, we don't know yet, because we're in the process of rehearsing. So, and because it's like a pop-up team,
Yeah,
we're just gonna sort of, you know, obviously we've got people coming in with different skill sets and different strengths. So so I think that'll be a really interesting blend of like, well, what do you know and how do you do that? And you know, bring what you do, you know, broken chair, bring that into the team, or you could bring something in that you can that you enjoy doing. I think that's the thing, is like we just want to like create a pop-up team that has fun and hopefully entertains people and can show people this is what short form looks like, and this is a kind of like mid form to long formish. But you know, overall it's quite a short set, so it'll be a bit short and a bit of mid.
No, that sounds about where I'm at with multiple things of kind of going, well, it's going to be a bit of this, bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be make it up on the day, which it will literally be, but you know, structurally, it's kind of going, well, we don't have to make decisions now, or we can try this, we can try that. It's not the sort of thing where it has to be, you know, it's just opportunity to go, perform, have some fun, and the audience will have fun if you have fun, I think, very often.
And I like the idea of just you know, asking people to bring in, asking the performers to bring something that they enjoy doing. Because I think if performers are enjoying themselves on stage, then that transmits to audience. So yeah, in the spirit of improv, it's a bit of a mashup, and
a mashup mixer.
A mashup mixer, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Good. Well, I'm really excited to come and watch and see some folk that I haven't seen play before and things. So I'm going to be, I will be there. So I'm an avid reader. I love dipping into people's philosophies and people's ideas on improv, and it's sort of all how it evolves and derivations of different ideas. So what are your books? What are your go-tos? What is the thing that's getting you excited at the moment? What's your can't put down?
Improv books. I think I chose 3. I think I'm choosing. I've read a lot, but I'm choosing 3 to say that I go back to them regularly, or that when I first read them, they just went ping in my brain. And the first one is TJ and Dave's Improvisation at the Speed of Life, and that's that just really opened my mind to the power of connection, particularly in a duo, because TJ and Dave are a duo. So yeah, and that for me was like a philosophy on life as well. It was really beautifully written. So that's TJ and Dave Improvisation at the Speed of Life. And the other one that just kind of opened my brain was Pirate Robot Ninja, and that's Billy Merritt and Will Hines. And it talks a little bit about how there's different types of improvisers, no better nor worse than anything. It's just there are strengths that people have. Some improvisers are quite analytical. So that in this book is called The Kind of Robot. Some are just anarchic and blend ideas, that kind of pirate. So that really inspired me, and I was like, oh, where do I fit in? And I still don't know. So that's that. And then the other one, I really enjoyed Katie Schute's book, The Improviser's Way. It's a really great long form book. So if you want to know about long form, or if you're trying to you know, if you're starting a long form team, it's basically a workbook. It's a handbook of how to do long form in a team. So yeah, that's The Improviser's Way, Katie Shute. So yeah, they're the 3 that I would say, yay, go read them.
Yeah, I would concur. I've just started. I read this ages and ages and ages ago, and it is the history of an oral history of the Compass and Second City by Jeffrey Sweet. And again, I read it years and years and years ago, mainly because I was kind of going, oh, okay, where do things start from, and where are they now, and where am I in that part of that linear chain? And kind of a bit like you're asking yourself the question, am I a pirate? Am I a ninja? Am I a robot?
Good questions to ask.
No, absolutely, because at certain points I think they evolve and you change.
Oh, so, 100%. I don't think you're set in one way as an improviser, and neither should you be. You know, and particularly the more you learn from different people and stretch yourself and say yes to lots of different opportunities, the more you as an improviser is going to change. So sometimes you might be more analytical, and sometimes you might be just anarchic. And I think it very much depends on who you're with and how you feel personally in that moment, and the team that you're in, but also the teachers and the things that you've learned along the way. I think they can really, it's all up in the air, and it flexible human behavior.
Absolutely. So, if I was to give you an unlimited budget, okay, and you could choose any team or any teacher or any show from the present or the past to bring to Liverpool Improvisation Festival 2024, what would that be?
If money's no object and there's no
Money's no
calendar,
object.
there's no
No.
diary clashes.
No. You can pull anybody you want from
Um, I think I'd definitely get the Maydays to perform and teach. They'd be amazing. David Rosowski, I'd get over for a workshop. I think I'd probably get. I don't know. I don't know. That's a big question now, isn't it? Yeah, I'd get any improviser from the East, because I think so. Performers and teachers from India and the East and Southeast Asia, incredible. And I mean, like the other day, I had Helena Yang from South Korea guest teach at Liverpool Comedy Improv drop-in, and it's just beautiful and incredible to have a mix of world teachers that come, because perspective is everything, and to sort of decentralize the white Western perspective is really important. So I think that I'd bring in performers and teachers from the East as well.
Fab. Yeah, I was wanted to see Robin Williams when he rocked up at the Comedy Store Players. I'd have really loved just to have just been in the room and in the presence of just watching.
Yeah.
And there are loads of different art forms which are generated spontaneously. So what we know as traditional, as improv, which is a very narrow term, actually, it's actually quite broad. So people who work spontaneously, I think, I'm just really interested in, and that kind of blend of things is kind of how things evolve. And otherwise we stay doing the same thing for the last 50 years. Like, oh, there's the Harold. We continue to do a Harold or a version of, things have to kind of, not that we move on, but we can evolve things so it becomes something.
So and also influence. If it's multidisciplinary as well, because like people spontaneously create visual art and people spontaneously create dance. So it would be an amazing sort of what an amazing sort of cauldron to bring in sort of spontaneous creation, but with different art forms together with spontaneous theatre.
Yeah.
And how do we inspire and talk to each other and respond to each other? I mean, that would be a nice dream. If money and whatever was no object, bring in multidisciplinary, spontaneous artists.
Yeah, well, that is for the future. We do have one in the festival this year, which is Jo Tramaco. So she's a full. So kind of it'll be really interesting. Having MCs who rap battle, do make stuff up instantaneously. They're fun. I've been to a few, and I am sort of quite the old fella at the back, but I'm just going, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are near towards the end of our time. So, Emma, what is your dream for UK improv in the next decade? So it could be regionally, nationally. What would you want? What's your ambition? Where would you want to, or where would you hope it might end up?
I mean, I suppose I think it's going in the direction that I think is really exciting, and so if it just continues to blossom and for people, do you know what? Actually, fundamentally, my dream in the next 10 years is for you to say, oh, I'm an improviser, or I perform or teach comedy improv or improv, and people go, oh yeah, cool, I've tried that. I've done that, or I do that, or whatever. So wouldn't it be amazing? I suppose that's ultimately my dream, is for people to actually know what improv is in all its plethora of, you know, colors and shapes and forms. Wouldn't that be cool? So instead of having to explain to people what improv is in the first place, wouldn't it be great if in 10 years everyone goes, oh yeah, now I tried that and it was really good, right? So like that would be my dream for the next 10 years, is that for more people to actually know and experience what improv is. So accessibility, I suppose, access to improv, making that more widespread. Yeah, and I think it's going in that direction anyway. I mean, certainly regionally, like Liverpool has, I mean, there's at least, I don't know how many teams there are now. I don't know how many, somewhere between 6 and 10 maybe, but probably more teams in Liverpool that weren't there before 8 years ago, that weren't, they didn't exist. So I think it's going that way anyway, where it's becoming more widespread. But yeah, one day I'd like everyone to have done at least one improv class in their life. And how different politicians and the United Nations and all that would be had they done it.
Yeah, I mean, when I asked this question to Jess, you said every school child should be doing improvisation in school, which is great, because the ability to listen, the ability to empathize, the ability to play somebody else and consider somebody else's, all the transferable skills that we know exist in theatre, then are using that, and it should be like a standard thing. Go and do your top up in improv. Go and get your improv fix.
That'd be so good.
Okay, we're just coming towards the end of our time. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to Emma Bird from Liverpool Comedy Improv. Emma will have her show with her guests from various teams. It's called The Mixer. It takes place on Friday, the 21st of April at 5 p.m. in Unity 2. If you go onto the Unity's website, which is www.unitytheatreliverpool.co.uk, you can look for, in the What's On section, Liverpool Improvisation Festival. Scroll down, you'll find The Mixer. Tickets are £5 and £7, or you can purchase a day ticket, which allows you to see 6 shows for the price of £30. So it works out at £5 each. And then Emma is teaching on the Saturday from 12 till 2, teaching You, Me and the World, which is a workshop in which Emma is looking at a number of different things in terms of how you start scenes, thinking about how you react and respond to each other. So just a big thank you, Emma Bird.
Yay, thanks.